Everyone, and welcome back. So this is our Teacher Academy where we're learning about the brain, trauma, and interventions you can put in place in the classroom. So some behaviors that we've been talking about, and I've been talking to a lot of teachers this year, and unfortunately they're seeing more and more and more of these behaviors more often in the classroom. And it kind of explains by the population that we service here. We have a lot of students who've experienced some ACEs, and we'll get into that in a minute. But our population is actually higher than the average for the country. But first, let's talk about the behaviors that we're looking at. So some behaviors that we are noticing in the classroom is some avoidant behaviors. So those can look like the hood over the head, or running out of the room, pushing stuff off the desk so that they don't have to do it, just refusing, kind of that glare look too. So those are some of our refusals or avoidance. And then we have some of our aggressions. So that is the fight part of fight or flight. So you will see like kicking, feeling angry, stomping, putting their hands in a fist, grinching their face, just looking really angry. So that is the fight response of fight or flight. So we'll usually see one of the two in the classroom. And unfortunately, this is when a student's amygdala or their fight or flight response has been triggered or fired. And that happens because students are experiencing a trigger from one of their ACEs. So ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, are things that our students experience before the age of 18. I've put a link below so that you can look at the ACEs and see what the assessment looks like. There's 10 questions, and it's just a yes or no, very quick survey. We do not give these to students, but as an adult, I give these to my clients so that we can decide what kind of therapy we're going to engage in. However, for our understanding, if you want to look at them so you know what they are, some are ones that a lot of our students experience, such as a family member experiences divorce or separation where families live in different homes. That's an ACE. So a lot of our students have at least one ACE. But the more ACEs a child experiences, the more behaviors and the more dramatic the behaviors are. And ACEs are things that they experience on a regular basis. So when they come home, typically in the evenings, they're going to be experiencing one of these because these are chronic traumas. They happen over and over throughout their lifetime as they grow up. Now, the magic number is 4. So if a student is experiencing 4 or more of these ACEs before they turn 18, then that's where we're seeing a lot of these behaviors because their amygdala, their brain, their fight or flight response is triggered so often that they have a lot of triggers. And these are kind of fed over into the school system because they have to be sure that they stay safe at home so often that at school they're experiencing a lot of triggers. And again, some of these triggers can be just as simple as a teacher standing up very quickly or turning off the light quickly, or a heightened voice or a loud, strong, assertive voice can make them feel triggered because those are things they have to be aware of instantly in their home to be sure that they either make sure someone else is safe or their own self is safe. So ACEs is kind of the culprit of the behaviors that you are typically seeing in the classroom. So how many of our students have these ACEs? So here is a chart about how many students in a typical classroom have ACEs. And you'll notice that there's like 1 or 2 that have 0. There's also 1 or 2 that have 9 or 10. The majority of students have 3 to 7 ACEs, with kind of the bell curve top being 3, 4 ACEs. Again, 4 is the magic number where if students experience these, that's where you start to see these behaviors because our bodies connect to those ACEs in a way that it changes our bodies in a cellular level. They've done a lot of studies on how experiencing 4 or more change the way our brain thinks and feels and is experiencing the world. So a student with 2 sees the world very differently than a student with 4. So let's look at the chart. So we see that there's a lot with 4. But in our area, we have students, this is a little bit skewed because in our area, with the experiences that they have with substance use, parents going to jail, parents going to treatment facilities, things like that, then ours is actually skewed more up toward the higher range. So we're seeing more students with more ACEs than average. So that's why we're seeing more behaviors. So one thing that, solutions, right? So one thing that you can do is you can experience this differently in your own mind. So instead of saying to yourself, what is wrong with this kid? Why can't they learn? What's going on? Like, instead of saying that to yourself, I know you don't say that to the students, but as you say that to yourself, just, thinking, instead of that, think, what have they been through? Say that sentence to yourself. What has this kid been through? And that kind of changes your perspective of maybe this is an ACEs or a trauma experience. So some other quick things you can do in the classroom. Students with ACEs do not do well with change. So having very clear expectations, visual expectations, like a visual schedule, so that they know exactly what is going to happen next. In their home, it's usually very chaotic and very scary. So a schedule, so they know what is going to happen next, is an excellent way to start your day, to review that every day so that students know that you know what's happening, that you're in control, you're in charge, and you're going to take care of them. So understanding the expectations of the day, understanding expectations in the classroom, so being very regular and stern about what the expectations are, but also making sure that you understand and they understand that you will keep them safe. So that is not getting really big and really scary and really loud and really angry, because that will trigger their amygdala. So stern expectations, understand what's going to happen next, and stay steady in a very calm, assertive voice, but not an angry, kind of boisterous, loud voice that they're not sure where that's going to come from. If you guys want any more information about the body and ACEs, there's an excellent book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's an excellent book about this, and it tells you all about trauma, the brain, and the body. I use it all the time in my private practice, seeing my own clients, but also I kind of reread it very often so I can remember what our kiddos are going through. So if you guys have any questions, of course, we're available, and we'll be back in a few weeks. Thanks.